Hey everybody, I'm Chris Metzler, one of the programmers here at SF DocFest. You just had a chance to see the really wonderful film Flamingo Camp, and we're lucky enough to have director Chris Coates here. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, good to be here.
Most definitely, this was a fun one to kind of run into in submissions, and just kind of a really neat take about what's going on down there. What can you tell us a little bit about the origin story for the film? How did you kind of first hear about Slab City and Flamingo Camp, and how did you know you wanted to make a film there?
Sure. Yeah, I'd known about Slab City for a while. A friend of mine had done a photography project down there, so I kind of known about it on the periphery. And then I actually was writing a narrative film about queer nomads because it's a like community that I've been pretty close to my life. A lot of my friends in college were nomadic, and so was always fascinated by the community. I was writing this narrative film, and in the process, I met some more people from the community, and one of them invited me down to Slap City one winter to just hang out. And I remember going to Flamingo Camp for the first time and being like, "Oh my God, this is like my film. This is what I'm writing. Like it exists. It's real." And so had been working on that project for a little bit. We actually shot a little proof of concept at Flamingo Camp that year for the film. And then the pandemic hit and that project kind of ground to a halt. But, I was there kind of November 2020, depressed, not knowing what to do with myself. And I thought about Flamingo Camp and I was like, you know what? That would make an incredible documentary. No matter what happens with this other film, this could be a great film in and of itself.
Nice, and you know, given the nature of Slab City and going on, is like, what was that kind of relationship building with the participants in the film? In the sense, like, were they excited to kind of share their story, or was there any kind of reticence? Like, what was that process like?
Yeah, so I had known Nova from the year before. So I already had somewhat of a, acquaintance type relationship with them. And yeah, we really just started with like one shoot. We kind of went down there for a weekend. Nova got kind of consensus from everybody before we arrived that, who would be cool with it, who wouldn't be cool with it. There's a number of people that were living at Flamingo Camp that aren't in the film because they didn't want to be, which is totally fine. Um, and from there it was really just we'd go for a weekend and then we'd go for 5 days and then we'd go for a week, and eventually prior to the tragedy we would spend maybe like 2 weeks at a time there living in an
Hmm.
RV, living at the camp itself, pretty much kind of integrated with the camp. So I would say that everybody initially was pretty excited to I don't know, to share their stories. Some people were a little bit hesitant at first but eventually came around because I think a lot of them felt like their lives are interesting. Their lives, they do have things to say about the world. They do want people to know their thoughts and their ideas and their story. And so I think it was a cool way for them to sort of like be seen and be heard and, show how special they all are because they all, are their own really unique, interesting person. So
Yeah, most definitely. Once you knew that you wanted to kind of make it into a film, what were some of the choices you were making of like how you wanted to kind of the aesthetic of the film, I guess, in the sense that it's really beautiful in, different ways. Like, so yeah, how did you kind of choose on, how you wanted to kind of tell the story visually?
yeah, well, in terms of gear, we had a free camera that our DP owned. So that was the camera we were going to use. It was a Panasonic Varicam, which is it's a nice camera. It's a little bit heavy for documentary work, but he toughed it out. He made it work. But we really had one lens, aside from some B-roll where we got a really long lens to get some of the shots of the sun and
Hmm.
these really kind of more like atmospheric shots to really show the heat coming in the summer. But we just had one zoom lens because I wanted to. Part of what really informed the aesthetic was our approach because I really wanted to just not be like a film crew. I wanted to be very fly on the wall and really take that verite approach. So we picked kind of the best zoom lens we could. Obviously I would have loved it if it would have been all shot on primes and really like thought out, but I also didn't want to miss anything that was happening or break the kind of flow of these people's lives with, oh, hold on, go get me a 50 millimeter, hold on, like, let's get a 25 millimeter. I didn't want that to really be a
Mm.
part of the experience. I kind of just wanted
Yeah.
them to sort of forget about the camera, even though it was huge. Uh, and then, yeah, I did all the sound. We had a on camera mic or onboard mic on the camera, and then I did all the lav miking for the interviews. So it was just me and the DP. Um, and then we got a lot of 60 frame per second slow mo just to sort of add a little bit more poetry to our verite approach. But yeah, it was really kind of this combination between functionality and logistics, but also like
Yeah.
I wanted it to have that kind of fly on the wall feel.
And what like as you started kind of following the story, was there anything that kind of surprised you during the making of it that you just never really expected, or um things that just kind of resonated with you in different ways than you would have imagined?
I mean, aside from the obvious, kind of tragedy that happens, I mean, that really completely upended what we thought we were doing, what we thought we were
Yeah.
making. We thought we were done. Kind of. We had always planned to just do one season at Flamingo Camp, like a winter, and then maybe catch up with people the following year. And the tragedy happened after that, so definitely kind of shifted our whole plans. But I think, aside from that, um, I think that the just the most eye-opening thing for me about this being my first documentary was just how like complicated people are. Like people are so complicated. I mean, I had this feeling after making this, like I could never again write a character and feel like they were even getting close to
Mm.
what a real human being is like. Because when you are so close to people and you're not only like kind of documenting their life, but you're in this kind of traumatic situation with them and kind of in a way documenting it, but also kind of holding space for them.
Mhm.
You just see the whole complexity and range of what a human being can be. And so I think that was the most fascinating and kind of the most fascinating thing, but also the most challenging thing to kind of like work with in the edit of like,
Mm.
how do we like kind of tell what happened truthfully, but also in a way that's respectful to the people involved and to their lives.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, one of the things I always try to remind our audiences is that filmmakers like you, share their films with us early in the film's life cycle, and so our responsibility is for the films that we like is to go talk about them and kind of help spread the word. So, can you share how best to kind of continue to follow the film as it kind of gets out there in the world, and where do we direct people to?
Yeah, we have an Instagram at Flamingo Camp Film. So that's a great place to kind of follow and see where the festivals are going to be and where distribution might be happening. And then would love if everybody love this, if you have a good things to say about it, go on Letterboxd. We're on there, leave a review, give a heart, be kind.
Yeah.
Help the film get the attention it deserves. So
Cool. Well, thanks again for making a wonderful film, Chris, and really appreciate you being part of SF Doc Fest.
yeah, no problem. It's my pleasure.
Very cool.